Does anybody else think it's really kind of strange that, like, during the pandemic, all the essential workers had to keep going to work because we were considered essential to the functioning of society? These are the people who, for society to function, have to keep going to work. And yet, none of those people are people who make over $100,000 a year. Anybody else think that's really fucking weird? That all the people who are absolutely necessary for the survival of the entire country, in order for anything to keep going, none of the people who are 100% absolutely necessary for the functioning of our day-to-day lives, none of them make 150 grand. All of the essential workers, all of the most important people for the functioning of our society, are all the lowest paid people in the fucking country. Somebody make that make fucking sense to me.
No, because what's more important, singing a song or saving people's lives? Playing pretend or learning how to read, write, and problem solve? Throwing and hitting a ball and protecting and rescuing people in emergencies? Which one? The bottom line that I'm trying to make here is we need medical field workers. Any type of occupation that works in the medical field, we need them. We need police officers. We need EMTs. We need teachers. These occupations lay the foundation of society. If we didn't have them, what would we do? But for some reason, we value and have always valued entertainers, meaning like actors, singers, professional sports league players, influencers. We value these people more. But why? Now, maybe you're thinking, like, no, actually, I don't value them more. But I'm not just talking about you as an individual. I'm talking about us as a collective. For some reason, we value them more than the people that we actually need to function. And how? It's because they're making millions upon millions and billions of dollars. And everyone else is struggling to have quality of life.
But really though, how can a worker be both essential and unworthy of a living wage? Capitalistic contradictions. I'll go more in context. Grocery chains grew profits of $18 billion in the pandemic so far. Almost all stopped hero pay after a month. 29,000 grocery workers got COVID and 74% of them aren't eligible for vaccines yet. We're not treating them as essential, they're sacrificial. In a system of capitalism, hard work is always supposed to pay off. The person that does the labor is always supposed to be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. But somehow, these old essential workers have been the people that have benefited the least amount of this whole pandemic when it comes to being an essential worker. Oh, I see what it is. Y'all lost in the sauce of that trickle-down theory, and you think that if you give the big corporations up top a little money, you'll trickle down to those essential workers, knowing damn well that is not how the economy works. How they essential workers and it wasn't essential for them to get vaccinated first? How?
Can we all collectively agree that just about everybody is underpaid? I am all about paying teachers more and increasing teacher salaries, but one thing we can't forget is the paraprofessionals, the classified staff, the teachers' assistants, janitors, school secretaries, all these other people that are working in these schools making an impact on these schools and in the students, they need to be paid more too. Because a lot of the positions I just named, they're getting paid $13, $14, $15 an hour. That's not going to cut it. They need to be paid $20, $25, even $30 an hour, because in some districts for a teaching assistant or an aide, you're only working 3 or 4 hours a day. So to only be working 3 or 4 hours a day and to be paid a measly $14, $15 an hour, $20 if you're lucky, that's unacceptable. Because people got to pay their bills, they got to put gas in their car, they got to eat, and to pay them $15 an hour and let them only work 3 or 4 hours a day, that's not going to cut it. That's why people don't want to work in these schools anymore, because of how low the pay is. And if the higher ups cared about kids as much as they said they cared about kids, they would put their money where their mouth is and increase the funding in education to where the kids can get the best that they can get. But, you know, that's the government for you.
Say this with me. Your pay level needs to match your stress levels. You should not be more overwhelmed and more burdened down than the person who owns the company. The sooner you realize that there are going to be some issues and concerns that you will not be able to fix, only the people at the top can, the sooner you're going to be able to keep your peace. So yes, go to work hard, but leave them problems at work. That ain't your company.
everyone, it's Bree. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back in another video, and I am here with a topic that was actually brought to me by a subscriber. So shout out to you. I'm actually going to put your comment on the screen, and basically they wanted me to talk about essential workers. Now, at first I was like, well, I don't really have anything to say about essential workers. I mean, I value essential workers, of course. You know, I think that they should be paid fairly, and you know, I don't really have too much to say about it. But then I thought to myself, well, let me hop on TikTok and type in essential workers and see if there is a conversation happening around essential workers. And sure enough, there actually is. And you see a lot of essential workers sharing their stories about how they are being severely underpaid and undervalued, which they didn't expect, because you know, when the pandemic was happening, there was a lot of praise for essential workers because, you know, a lot of our essential workers, you know, in the health field and also like the sanitation field as well, they were really key in making sure that everybody stayed safe and making sure that people got what they needed. And there was a lot of praise being put on them. And so I would have thought that that would have continued in terms of, you know, people started to see more value in essential workers. So I would have thought that, you know, it would have continued from the pandemic. But unfortunately, it's reverted right back to how it was pre-pandemic, which is that people are not valuing their essential workers. And there's a lot of different professions that don't get paid nearly enough. I've said before that teachers are the main ones that do not get paid enough. Even though we've screamed and hollered about it, teachers are still severely underpaid. And a lot of the people that work in these essential careers, I guess you can call them, a lot of them are having to pick up, you know, extra shifts or a whole nother job to make ends meet. And to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I'm not knocking the people that are doing that, I'm knocking the industry, because why is it that your nurses, your teachers, all your essential workers, why are they having to pick up extra shifts and work at other places to make ends meet? They should be making more than enough to take care of themselves and be comfortable at that. Because I also think too, we've gotten into this mindset of just getting by and that being good enough. But it's like, no, if you are, like I said it time and time again, if you are working a solid 40 hours a week, or if you're working in these industries where a lot of the times it requires more than 40 hours a week, like even being a teacher, like a lot of times teachers, their jobs don't just stop at, you know, school. Like it also continues when they have to go home and grade papers and all of that. And then you have nurses who work, you know, late nights and work weekends, and their schedules are also very sporadic. Like you have a lot of people putting in a lot of time and effort into these careers that are made to benefit society. You know, without teachers, how would kids learn? Without professors, how would adults learn? Without nurses, how would the healthcare system run? You know what I mean? These are people that are essential. You can't not have people in these industries. It's just so crazy to me that they are not being valued or paid their worth. And they oftentimes get treated the worst as well, whether it's by society or by the higher ups. They tend to get mistreated a lot. Again, especially teachers. Teachers get mistreated a lot. You know, a lot of them have come out and spoken to how they don't get help from administration, how they're getting mistreated and disrespected by both the kids and their parents. And so I see why, you know, they're leaving in mass numbers, because it's like, it's just not even worth it at that point. And then you have other industries like, you know, football players and these national sports leagues and these entertainers who get paid millions and billions of dollars a year. And not to say they shouldn't get paid for what they do, but I just think the pay gap there is just a little bit off, because again, I would argue that a teacher or a janitor or your construction workers, or heck, even people in the fast food industry, people in hospitality, I should say, people in hospitality type of industries, they deserve to get paid way more than they do, because they are literally essential to that industry. Watching football and basketball aren't necessities, but I do understand the value in it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they shouldn't get paid at all, because I've also gone on record to say that entertainers and musicians, they do deserve to get paid a good salary, because we as consumers benefit from them a lot, especially musicians. Like I've come to realize more and more that musical artists do not get paid what they should. And people have been talking about this for years, so I'm not saying it's anything like new, but it is interesting interesting how low musicians get paid, especially the people but like behind the music, like the writers and the producers and the people who, you know, really help to create, you know, the music that we hear. They get paid so little, especially with streaming and everything like that. And it's crazy because, you know, music is everywhere. Music is in, you know, TV shows and movies and commercials. When you're walking through the mall, you're hearing music. Music is literally everywhere. And so I also think too that musical artists should get paid. Now granted, they're not essential workers, quote unquote, but what's life without music? And to pay them as low as a lot of them are getting paid is ridiculous. And even on the topic of that, right, you often see that the labels are the ones that are getting the biggest payout from the hard work that the musical artists are doing. You see something similar to that happening with these essential workers, where it's almost like there is this hierarchy, which there's a hierarchy in every single industry. So I'm not saying that there shouldn't be or that there can't be, but it's this thing of like the people on top make a ridiculous amount more money than the people at the bottom who are arguably doing the most amount of work. And that's always rubbed me the wrong way, because when you're looking at these pay gaps, right, teachers make significantly less than the principal. And yes, the principal in theory should make more than the teacher, but it shouldn't be so much to where the principal can just kick their feet up and not you know what I'm saying, not do much work. But then you have the teachers busting their behinds, but they have to beg for school supplies. Like, and listen, I'm not saying that everyone has to make like 100K or a 6-figure salary. Please don't get it twisted. I'm not naive enough to think that everybody can make a ton of money doing their job. Like, obviously some people are going to make more than others, but what I am saying is that at a base, a lot of these jobs should be making way more than they are. There's no reason why a teacher should have to beg for school supplies, or why they have to pick up extra jobs outside of their teaching job to afford school supplies. And honestly, I don't know any teachers that are like living in big lavish homes. And again, not to say that everyone necessarily needs to, but a lot of them are living to where they're just making enough to get by. And I don't feel like that should be the case. And even in the healthcare field, right? Like, you have nurses and then you have doctors. Doctors are stacked up when it comes to their salaries, as they should be though. Doctors go to school for years and years and years. They go through a lot of training. They have a lot of experience. It's really, really difficult to become a doctor. So with being a doctor, that's a salary that I can get behind. Like, the amount of money that doctors make, they 100% deserve those salaries, especially with the amount of student loan debt that they rack up to become doctors. They 100% should be making 6 figures or more. So I'm not even knocking them for that. But again, when you're looking at the pay discrepancy, when you have nurses that are out here talking about how they're struggling or how they're having to pick up extra shifts, it's like, I'm almost certain that you could probably bring down the salary of a doctor just a tad bit, just a little bit, to make up for how much nurses are struggling to make ends meet.
Let's spend the first paycheck of the year as an underpaid nurse. So for this paycheck, I earned a whopping, drum roll, $17.60 after taxes, and this is for every 2 weeks, guys. Rent is here, and that is $13.50 right off the top, and it just makes me just want to cry. Food, $120, not that bad for the last like 2.5 weeks. Work, I paid $200 because I had to renew my certification for my pediatric critical care thing, which is weird because usually my job would pay for it, but this job doesn't pay for it. I don't understand, but that's $200 just right out of my own pocket. My cell phone bill, nothing, because my parents pay for that, and I'm pretty sure they don't really know that they're paying for that still. But I'm just not going to say a single word. And I just throw the rest into my savings, whatever I have, and that's what I got going so far. I really don't have any left to like actually to enjoy life. You know, the rest just goes on my credit card, and I'll pay this part of my credit card bill off on my next payday routine. Kind of how it goes, you know. For the first paycheck, it's just all bills, and then the second one, just recovering from all my credit card stuff. I don't know. The current plan is right now financially, marry a doctor. Just marry a doctor and just be done with this.
It's levels to it, you and I know. Bitch, be humble. Bitch, sit down.
Now, I know the girls are going to want to tussle with me on this one, but I don't care. Residents and CNAs are literally the most underpaid people in healthcare. And for residents, it's damn near criminal. And let me tell you why. If you don't work in healthcare, you don't know that residents literally make less than nurses. On average, they usually make $60,000 or less per year, working 80-hour weeks. And in a lot of places, CNAs make less than fast food workers. Make it make sense.
CNAs are so underpaid. I have been in the health field being a CNA for about 5 years now. Let me just tell you, in the state of Alabama, you don't make shit as a CNA unless you got a good 15 to 20 years under your belt. Even at 10 years, you still barely making anything. And this just goes to show, like, rather, you know, you have a degree or you just have a license or certification, when it comes to doing some type of job such as CNAing in the health field, we should be paid more. Like, do y'all know what CNAs go through? Like, when your family members are sick and you can't show up, we're there. We're changing them. We're bathing them. We're helping feed them. We're helping them get clothing on during the day. When they need somebody to sit by them at nighttime just when they're feeling lonely, CNAs are there. When COVID hit, we were their family. We were the only ones that could see them on a day-to-day basis. And for the little ass pay that they give you, but they want you to come in there. They want you to chart. They want you to do vitals. They want you to have 15 to 20 patients by yourself at nighttime when you work a third shift. During the daytime, you're going to have at least 13 or 14. And don't forget, when you work during the day, you're getting them up out the bed. You're actually getting them up. You're getting them bathed. I'm just trying to figure out why CNAs are so underpaid. Like, somebody please explain to me.
I think there's enough money in this world to go around. When you're looking at these dynamics of a doctor versus a nurse, a principal versus a teacher, the CEO of Amazon versus the Amazon workers, it's not that the Amazon workers should be making just as much as the CEO. It's not that the teacher should be making the same salary as the principal. It's not that the nurse should be making the same amount of money as the doctor. It's to say that the amount that they're getting paid at, in my opinion, is way too low, and it needs to be increased to a fair salary that reflects how valuable they are in society. And this is why, like, even growing up when I was in school, I would always pay the utmost respect to the janitors, because I've always had the mindset that janitors should be respected just as much as the principal or whoever is at the top, because I don't feel like one position is better than the other just because from a structure sense, you know, one person makes more than the other person. I think everybody equally is just as important to making things function and getting things done. And I think that the way some of these jobs are looked at in society and by these corporations, it's just not fair. And even in the music industry, I see why a lot of artists are going independent now, because these labels are making so much money off of them and the artists are making pennies to the dollar that the labels are making, and that just doesn't seem right to me. And it all boils down to corporate greed and taking advantage of people, because this is a conversation that's been happening for literally years. People have been saying for years that nurses, teachers, and the quote-unquote hard labor jobs don't get paid enough. And people also tend to people don't really look down on nurses per se or teachers, but definitely some of the more labor jobs, like your electricians, your plumbers, people like that, people tend to look at those jobs as like lowbrow, anyone can do it, or that you're not doing much with your life if those are the type of jobs that you're working. But actually some of those jobs are paying pretty decent, but again, I don't think it's enough. But even to that sense, right, I actually have seen people in my comment section say that they know people that work in electrician work, in car work, and those type of jobs. Even they make more money than the teachers and the nurses. And I still wouldn't say that those people need to make lower. I just would say that the teachers and the nurses need a higher salary than what they're getting. You know, a lot of people are out here just stressed and struggling to make ends meet. And it's just sad to see how much these corporations are cutting corners. They're cutting corners when it comes to paying people their worth, but also cutting corners when it comes to staff. You're seeing layoffs left and right. You're seeing people be overworked. And you often hear nurses talk about how understaffed they are. My mom is literally a nurse, and she's been going through this since the beginning of time. But literally, I've seen so many nurses from all over the country talk about how understaffed they are. And I'm like, y'all are understaffed everywhere. There isn't a single hospital or clinic that is well staffed. Like, it just seems like in almost every single industry at this point, these companies are putting so much on a small staff. And even if there are funds available to hire on more people, they just would rather overwork the people that are willing to take it on. And I don't think that's right. Even with these teachers are now having to teach a larger amount of kids at one time because of there being a teacher shortage. And I know back when I was in school, like, teachers weren't allowed to have more than like maybe 20-30 students at a time. And so seeing teachers having to try to tackle 50 plus students in one classroom is actually insane. Now, when it comes to education, that one's a little bit tricky because I know that in the education space, it's extremely underfunded for a lot of schools and a lot of districts out there. So there actually might be a lack of funds to hire teachers and to distribute that responsibility because of just the lack of funds, the lack of teachers, the lack of support in general. So that one is a little bit tricky. But I know for a fact, with the amount of money that the healthcare industry makes, they have more than enough money to pay nurses what they deserve to be paid. And they have more than enough money to hire on enough nurses to make sure that their nurses are not overworked because there's not enough people on the floor helping them. And it's crazy because in these industries, right, you really have to have a love for what you do, because seeing how people are treated and how people are not being paid enough, a lot of people are like, yeah, no, I can never be a teacher, I can never be a nurse because of X, Y, and Z. So the people that are actually in these fields and are choosing to still go into these fields, they really have to have a passion for it, because that really is the only thing driving people to even stay in these fields. But again, you see a lot of people leaving these industries. People are quitting left and right. We've seen over the past 2 years, a lot of teachers are leaving.
I feel like nobody's talking about how many teachers in America are just quitting school right now. We are in a massive teacher shortage right now, and the education system is falling apart. But there is a silver lining here, and I'll get into that. But right now, there's thousands of vacancies across America, and the teachers coming in to replace the ones who quit are not as qualified. They're not as quality as the ones that they're replacing. The quality of education is going down. On top of that, teachers are being underpaid. They're stressed by how much work they have to do outside the classroom. Students are distracted by social media. They can't focus. They're misbehaving in school. Parents are working multiple jobs. They can't attend to their children who should be learning outside the classroom. There's so many things happening. America is falling behind in STEM, and we're just telling kids what to think, not how to think. So students don't even see the value in school anymore. They're skipping at record rates. It's alarming how many students across America, 30%, have skipped like 3 or more weeks of school in the past year. This cannot continue much longer. But there is something to be hopeful about. A lot of people are catching on to how terrible the system is currently. And we're seeing a little uptick in AI tutoring, artificial intelligence tutoring. Things like ChatGPT can actually teach people things like math. It can actually go step by step through equations and teach you things. That can happen already currently. It's just a matter of time before it can help us go through entire diagrams or entire papers, or teach you languages, or teach you science lessons and engineering lessons. I mean, the possibilities are endless with AI, and what's even better than that is it's a more personalized lesson experience. Because when you're inputting stuff into this AI, it'll actually understand and adapt to your learning skills and your learning abilities. And you'll be able to ask it questions in real time. It'll be like talking to a real person, but you'll be able to go more in depth with questions and ask them way more questions than any real teacher has time or the patience to answer for you. Because right now in school, teachers are overwhelmed by 30, even 40 students at a time. How the heck can they possibly entertain every person individually? So I predict in the near future, more and more brick and mortar schools will shut down and will be replaced with this AI system. Much like in the early 2000s, we grew up on Microsoft Office. That was the whole thing in my school. Now it's going to be probably AI. Perhaps it'll slowly be implemented, and then eventually it'll be completely replaced with this AI system.
And it's not because they don't have a genuine love for teaching, but it's just not worth their mental health and the financial stress. And it's crazy because you do have those few, right? You have those few people that are teachers and that are nurses that seem very rude and very nasty, and you get that vibe of like, you know, why would you choose to be in this field if you don't like what you do? But there might be a deeper element of they enjoy what they do, but they don't feel like the things that they're going through in this industry is worth it. They might be, again, extremely overworked to the point where they can't enjoy what they enjoy doing. Even people that work in hospitality, like a lot of people that work in hospitality, they love working with other people. That's why they chose to get into those industries. But I have seen some people treat hospitality workers horrible. And when I think of hospitality, I'm thinking of like, you know, your restaurants, hotels, flight staff. They get treated terribly by people. Like the way that people would just get mean and nasty with them and get upset if something went wrong. They get talked to so crazy. And again, it's like you really have to love what you do to stay in that industry, because the way they get talked to is ridiculous. And you know, I really want to speak to that part of it, like loving the field but feeling like you're not being treated well enough in the field to stay in it. That's something that I'm currently going through. So for me, right, I chose marketing as my degree because I genuinely loved it. I actually didn't start out as a marketing major. When I went into college, my goal was to just get a degree that would get me a lot of money. That had literally been my goal from the jump, right? But as I was going through college, I'm like, listen, I really love business. I love the business field. And when I started looking into some of the business majors, marketing really stuck out for me because I loved every single aspect of it. Like I remember going through and seeing like, you know, what classes I could take to fulfill the major. And I remember having such a hard time picking because every single class was of an interest of mine. And that to me further proved that, okay, this is definitely the major that I need to be in, because I literally have an interest in every single aspect of marketing, whether it comes to strategy, when it comes to making content, which is literally my favorite part of it, is creating the content for it, diving into analytics, like every single little branch of marketing that you could think of, I was genuinely interested in it and wanted to learn more about it. And even seeing the shift in my grades, like the grades that I was making before when I was trying to do like computer game design and IT, lots of B's, lots of C's. And then when I got into marketing, it was like straight A's. Like literally all of my marketing based classes, I got an A in, because it came naturally to me. I really enjoyed it. I had a genuine interest in it, and I knew that it was for me, right? But then when I got into the professional side of really working in marketing, it started to taint my view of the industry a lot. And as of the past 2 years, I've started to fall out of love with marketing, and it's because of just where the industry is with marketing nowadays. Marketing is not valued at all. It is not valued. People are underpaying marketers like crazy. They are underestimating how much goes into marketing. You see a lot of people throwing their social medias at their interns or at their office assistants because they think it's, you know, it's not that hard to figure out social media, and the salaries are very low, and you're often being met with the same issue that other people of other industries are going through, which is being low staffed. There are so many companies right now who have a marketing department of one person. Literally, the job that I just left was a marketing department of 2 people. And we were still extremely overworked, working late nights. Like it was a lot, because it's this whole thing of like, oh, we'll just get one person that can do it all. And so instead of having marketing people who are specialized in one specific thing, whether it be email marketing, content, copywriting, graphic design, social media strategy, instead of having people that are specialized in their specific niches, companies are now looking for that one person that can do it all. And so I've become very well rounded in my field because I kind of had to, in order to even stand out as a candidate when I was applying to jobs heavily. You literally had to have all the skills, know how to use all the tools. Like, it actually was ridiculous. And granted, I didn't mind it too much because, again, luckily I just had a genuine interest in all things marketing. But it got to a point where you have these companies throwing all these initiatives at you, and they want you to do all these things. They want you to manage all their social medias and do their emails and do their blogs and do this and do that for a very low salary. Sometimes at an entry level salary, maybe mid-level if you're lucky. But it's always this thought of, let's get this one person that can do the job of multiple people, but still give them the salary of someone who's just entering the field. And it's so frustrating, and it's made me not even want to try anymore in this industry or in this field. And also, at this point, I have worked in different types of industries, and it's all still the same thing. And it's just been really infuriating, and it's actually taken me out of enjoying marketing. I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. It's not something that really excites me anymore. And some people have said that, oh, well, maybe it's because, you know, you're just coming to learn that you don't really enjoy marketing, and maybe your interest is in something else. And it's like, no, I still have a genuine interest in doing social media. I still love social media marketing, but working in social media marketing has been so traumatizing for me that I don't really want to do it. And I also don't see it getting any better, especially with AI becoming more of a thing, and just seeing more and more how these companies are cutting costs and cutting corners. I just don't see the field getting any better anytime soon. And so for me, I'm kind of just losing faith at this point, because right now marketing is kind of valued at like that 50K mark, and 50K is not doing nothing in today's economy. 50K ain't doing nothing. And like I said, a lot of these jobs, they want you to do the job of an email marketer, of a graphic designer, of a social media marketer, as a blog writer. They want you to do all these jobs that should be individualized, but they want you to do all of this and then some, and work weekends for 50K. And it's just like, at that point, what am I doing it for? What was the point of this degree? My student loans are more than 50K. Like, it's insane. So yeah, I don't blame people who are frustrated. I don't blame people who are leaving these fields to go do something completely different and finding more enjoyment in that, because at least they can get paid their worth and they can live comfortably. And again, as someone that thought that they came across their dream job several times and had that bubble burst immediately, I definitely understand the frustration. And as much as I still love this, right? Like, I love making content. I love doing my own thing. That's always been my main passion. From a professional standpoint, marketing is something that I really wanted to get into, and I was really looking forward to building up my career and working my way up and making strides in this industry. But unfortunately, I just have had such a hard time getting my foot in the door. And I've gotten my foot in the door at this point. I've had several internships, but you know, the experiences that I've had have just been so traumatizing, and the job hunting and the interview processes have been also as equally as traumatizing. So I'm just like, at this point, maybe I'm just not meant for it. And that was something that I literally had to sit with myself on. I contemplated if marketing was even for me, if I was even, and not to say that, again, I didn't have a genuine interest in it. I still do. But I started to question my own worth and my own value in this industry. Am I just not good enough? Am I just not built for marketing? I didn't think, you know, it would be this difficult. I didn't think it would be this challenging. I didn't think that I would face so many obstacles in trying to get to where I want to be in this field. But more and more, I'm starting to regret going into it. I'm starting to regret getting a degree in it. Like, I'm having a lot of regrets. And, you know, I know there's a lot of other people out there who are having the same thing of, like, you know, should I have gone into nursing? Should I have become a teacher? I know a lot of people right now are sitting with that and looking at the current state of their life, looking at the current state of their jobs, and they're just like, you know, is it even worth it? Maybe I should just go, you know, do this other type of job completely out this field, and maybe I shouldn't work in my passion. I should just work work in what's going to make me money. And I know a lot of people have that philosophy anyway. You know, a lot of people feel like when you go to college, you shouldn't get a degree in something that you're passionate about. A lot of people feel like you should get your degree in something that's going to get you money. But I also think too, there is an element of picking something that you know you can excel at. You know what I mean? So like if you're not good at math, it's probably not the best that you go into computer science or something that's like very numbers heavy or coding heavy, even though people often say like anybody can learn how to code. But you know, some people's brains just aren't wired in that way. So I do think you should still pick something that you know that you're capable of doing and you're capable of learning. But you know, it's just a lie. And even the careers that do pay well, they require you to go to school for so many years. They require that you get a master's or a PhD. And at that point, you've racked up so much debt, you can't even enjoy the fruits of your labor like that, because now you got to pay back all these student loans. It's just, all this stuff feels like a scam. All this stuff just feels like a scam. And it's like, at this point, what do people do? It's like, whether you go to school for your passions or go to school for money, it feels like you just end up being screwed anyway by society and by capitalism. And so, yeah, I don't know. But, you know, my heart goes out to the essential workers out there that are still doing their thing, that are still working hard and trying to contribute to society, even though society seems to be crumbling and falling apart. My heart goes out to anybody out there that's truly trying to work in their passion, but they're not being paid what they deserve to be paid. They're being mistreated either by society or by higher ups. You know, my heart goes out to you if you're still sticking it through. But my heart also goes out to those who may have given up on trying to work in their desired field of work and have given up on their passions, and they're just looking to find something to make ends meet. You know, my heart goes out to you as well. And yeah, a lot of people out there are just struggling mentally, financially, emotionally. And I really do hope that things turn around soon in all industries. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're an essential worker, let me know what field you work in. Do you feel like you're being paid your worth? Have you contemplated quitting your field? Let me know your thoughts about this topic in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go ahead, give it a big thumbs up. And if you have any topics that you guys want me to cover on this channel, please let me know in the comments down below as well. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.